A Nightwish Christmas video. When I first discovered Nightwish, this is not something I would have expected to be doing. But that just goes to show how unexposed I was to this world of music. So thank you to whoever recommended this one. It was multiple people, multiple comments. If you don't know Walking in the Air from The Snowman, go and watch The Snowman immediately. Immediately, right now or else. It's a lovely short cartoon played on Christmas every year, at least in the UK. An absolute staple of Christmas, a real part of British culture. And a part of British culture I really hope is preserved for a long, long time to come, because I just love it. Anyway, Nightwish's cover was released in 1998. That would be Nightwish's old lineup. Marco was not yet part of the group. We had Tarja as the singer. I have only seen and heard her once before, and that was in the Phantom of the Opera, so make sure you go and check out my video on that one. I thought that performance was awesome. This will be my second time hearing Tarja. Let's get straight into it. Very cool, like pan flute. Yeah, it's cool, isn't it? Having a cover that is a bit heavier than the original of this Walking in the Air. A very soft and almost genteel song that so many of us are familiar with from our childhoods. Interesting how we have vocal harmony coming in, which I will have to assume is Tarja singing with herself, which leads me onto another point, which is quite a few requests for this song were for a live performance of it. So I will be doing the live performance after we do this one. In that live performance, I will be very curious to see how they handle this harmony, especially as Marco was not yet in the group. Very strong bouncing. So if you want to watch that one with me afterwards, then you can find that in the link below. That will be on my Patreon. I have loads of other additional content on there, other Nightwish videos. Cool album artwork here as well. It reminds me of the famous painting Ophelia. Well, we'll carry on with the song in just a moment, but let's talk a little bit about what we've heard so far.
Like I say in all my other videos, if you don't like these pauses, they really, really help with copyright so my video doesn't get taken down.
First things first, they are choosing to perform in the same key as the original song.
We're walking in the air.
And here Tarja's voice comes in, just quite naturally an operatic sound, isn't it? Coming in after those sort of pan flutes that we're hearing. That give it a very mysterious or magical sound. Choosing to perform it in the same key, I'm sure there are many reasons, but one would be that this is probably perfect for Tarja's range. Like I say, I've only heard her once before in the Phantom of the Opera, but from what I've heard so far of Walking in the Air, and that performance, I have not really heard her use her chest voice much. So going by my Tarja experiences so far, yeah, this is a very good range for her where she can get a lot of the head voice coming through, occasionally blended voice in the lower to mid ranges. And in doing so, that really suits her quite operatic style of singing. Also, being in the same key, this is extra nostalgic for me. Because it was one of the first things I ever learned to play on piano when I was really, really young. Super, super simple arrangement. It's really difficult to play on this because the keyboard is delayed. So I'm playing, moving my fingers, but the sound I'm hearing is behind. It's really, really quite tough. So I won't do that. But yeah, very super simple arrangement. Alberti bass in the left hand. I would play it on piano and sing. I remember on a school trip away in probably 2002. Maybe 2003. I did that for a little class talent show. So particularly nostalgic, and being in the same key, I think it's kind of ingrained in my brain a little bit. Overall, there's quite a kind of reverby sound. I think it again adds to that mysteriousness or etherealness that we kind of were introduced to with those pan flutes right at the beginning. Having a bit of reverb on everything, all of the sounds are just a bit more sustained. The sounds kind of move into each other. When the chord changes, things don't seem as abrupt. They seem a bit more smooth. And Tarja is really complementing this through her singing, I feel. She's definitely not shying away from sliding into or between notes. Yeah, in that phrase that we just heard. On mid, she really just attacked that straight on and was a tiny bit under and moves up into it, growing into it. But you can really feel, you know, after that. There's the slightest tempo rubato there that she's implementing, literally meaning in robbed time. So, you know, slowing down a little bit with her melody just to make things seem a bit more flowy and smooth, especially because the instrumental accompaniment for this song, it's really interesting in the original. And the arrangement so far, by the way, is quite similar to the original. It's keeping all of the same structure, the rhythmic structure, which is this pattern. Let me just play a bit of the original. I can't do too much because of copyright. And we can hear that pattern underneath going. Over and over. Nightwish are keeping that in, but they just have a bit more of a full sound, additional layers. The texture is thicker in general. Tarja's voice as well is kind of much more powerful and full sounding than a boy treble singing as we got in the original. Quite synthetic string sounds. I wouldn't be surprised if that's Thomas playing the violins on his synth there. And then, of course, we get strong bass and then percussion coming in. Where I just paused, Tarja again comes in a little bit under the note, and I'm noticing she does this quite often. And now the vibrato is bringing up the pitch. She seems to like to do that. And it's even more noticeable in a way, at least to me, because now a second voice comes in, which again, I think is her. I find this especially interesting because I don't know how many covers there are of this song. I'm sure there are many. The original came out in 1982, Nightwish 1998, so it's been around for a long time already. The boy treble in the original is not Aled Jones, I believe. Aled Jones kind of became famous with this song because of a live performance, I think. I might be wrong, so if I am, just fact check me in the comments. I think the original treble's voice had changed by the time there was a live TV performance. Anyway, Aled Jones, quite famous now, presenter on Classic FM, singer. He did a video of him now as a modern day tenor singing a duet with the kid version of himself, which is really, really cool. Who knows, maybe I'll even do a behind the scenes video of that one over on Patreon. And ever since I heard that Aled Jones version, I'm finding I can fly so high above with you. It's a really interesting concept, and singing with yourself, your own voice, obviously that's the most perfect match in terms of texture and timbre compared to any other voice in the world, so it should be the ideal duet partner, right? So the fact that Nightwish have done this here with Tarja, yeah, really nice surprise there. I think we should carry on. Guitar solo time. I hope it is, because it will be embarrassing if I've paused there and then they just come in singing immediately afterwards. But until I find out what actually happens, in my head, this is now going to be a guitar solo moment. If you enjoy these videos or find them helpful, please consider supporting me. Patreon has a bunch of exclusive benefits, behind the scenes videos, additional reaction content, Q&A videos, and more. For a one-time donation, you can donate me a hot chocolate at the Buy Me a Coffee link, or become a YouTube member for these groovy emojis and membership badges. And a huge thank you to these lovely people on the screen now. We will continue from here in just a moment. A few more things to talk about. I was thinking it's strange because we have the percussion in there now, and we know Nightwish, considered a metal group ultimately. And when you think of a metal drummer, you think hard drumming and quite often very upbeat or quick. As I was listening to this, I was thinking the drums seem very slow, and it gives the impression of quite a slow bit of music. But then I was also thinking, this is interesting, I'm thinking that because they are performing quicker than the original song, it's a quicker tempo. So it would be interesting to know how or why they arrived at this tempo, this many beats per minute. The original was obviously too slow, but they didn't want to go too quick and speed up the song too much. Some slight rhythmic variations, adding in some dotted rhythms, mighty monster.
Mighty monster.
Compared to a very regimented rhythm in the original. And a lot of this song is regimented in the rhythms. The rhythms intrinsically have to be that figure that I showed earlier, going. Really makes up the whole structural and rhythmic backbone of the song. The whole idea of the song is chum 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 cha 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 cha. So when Tarja does occasionally change the rhythms a little bit, like I mentioned earlier, one of the first things that stands out was her use of tempo rubato, ever so slightly slowing down or speeding up to make things seem maybe a little bit more free. It's even nicer because there are two voices. She's singing with herself in harmony. So it's almost like the effect is doubled. Nah, it's not really, is it? But let me have this one. Sorry, I was just playing back a little bit, and just a moment ago I mentioned to the drums and how the whole thing seems a bit slow just because the drums are chum, dum, chum. The strong beats are really not that frequent. So just like when Tarja will change her melody for a little bit of difference, same thing with the drums in there, just a tiny section to remind us that this is a, ultimately a metal group covering a song, even though they managed to maintain the original magical feel of it. And magical is the word that I will be sticking with for this song, because it really is magical. If you've seen The Snowman, maybe it's tradition for you. If you're in the UK, I don't know how famous that song is really globally. Nightwish are covering it. They're not from the UK. Do Americans know The Snowman? I don't know. If you're watching from anywhere outside of the UK, let me know if you know it and where you're from. Let's see how many different nationalities we can get down there. But it is magical. What's not magical about a boy flying, flying through the air with a snowman? Having two Tarjas here, really you have a lot of freedom. You could do call and response. So Tarja 1 will sing, and then the other Tarja will come in as the first one has stopped, and they'll kind of be doing like a leapfrog type entry and exit. But here for this phrase, for these couple of lines, they are full on going with homophony, singing the same words at the same time as each other in harmony, moving like that, building up to this climax moment, the guitar solo. I personally was not expecting a guitar solo. That's a nice surprise for a climax that it's building up to. We'll carry on into that, and then I'll carry on the song. Yeah, there are a few things that I just have to point out before we finish up with this one. Firstly, that section kind of is giving me Queen, Show Must Go On vibes. Hopefully you can see why I'm saying that. Secondly, the guitar solo. Epic was the word I was thinking of. It was like this epic guitar moment. But what I really liked was how we got the second guitar line coming in, replicating the harmony style and the duality in style that we had with Taria singing homophonically that I was pointing out. Just two parts moving in perfect harmony with each other, consistently all the way through. We have these really nice bell tones at the top, which are, again, magical. They sound like snowflakes, and hopefully you know what I mean by that. And what I was saying about the drums feeling slow because of the infrequent strong beats, well now, dum, 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 twice as quick, twice as common. Nightwish's cover is longer than the original song, so they are having to add in additional music, thereby changing the structure and giving themselves more freedom now, because this is essentially their own material rather than a complete homage to the original, as they were staying quite similar to the original in terms of overall musical characteristics. All right, let's finish up with this one. I think there's about 1.5 minutes left. Much heavier now with the electric guitar power chords in their bass as well. I don't think I'll do a recap at the end, so I'll just kind of pause maybe 1 or 2 more times if I hear something that I think is worthwhile mentioning. Just like here, now Taria, well, and Nightwish, they are rhythmically augmenting the melody. So instead of ba 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 bum, bum 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 bum, basically making every note in the melody twice as long for the end of some of these phrases. Why am I pointing this out? Well, I mentioned how she kind of had this rhythmic freedom with her tempo rubato, slowing up, speeding down, making some of the rhythms a bit dotty instead of just regimented cha-cha-cha-cha. When I say dotty, by the way, in music, a dotted rhythm is a boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba. Now she's taking it one step further and is actually just changing the lengths of the notes, making them twice as long. Really nice effect. That is the ending. Very interesting ending. Let me drag it back a little bit. We can hear reverbing in the guitar. This note here, which turns the chord into a major chord. Happy. But then we have this idea in the top, outlining the minor version of the chord. So hearing this major chord at the end, and when you finish a sad, a minor piece of music in the major, that's called a tierce de Picardy or a Picardy third, finishing off a bit uplifting. I was like, okay, cool. But no, then the music immediately reverts back to the sadder sounding minor sound. Magical as well, though, with those weird sounds up there, guitar playing down. We kind of had a little rhythmic breakdown, how regimented things were. As the drums stop and in comes that cha-cha-cha-cha thing at the top, the rhythmic underpinning of everything has transferred from the percussion to the final, I'm just going to call it a weird instrument up there, magical, that we hear that they finish with. Yeah, really cool cover that actually. Very nice to hear Tarja for the second time and Tarja V2 singing with herself. I like how they stayed true to the original song, even so much as keeping it in the same key, structurally pretty much the same, until of course they added in their own bit to really give it the Nightwish stamp and kind of remind us of the type of music that they do. Let's leave that one there. Go watch The Snowman if you haven't seen that already. And if you want to now see a live performance that we're going to do, because yeah, I'm very interested to see how they do this live, then head on over to the link in the pinned comment for that one. And if not, well, thank you as always for watching. Would really appreciate a like, comment on the video. It helps with the algorithm, push my video out. If you don't want to write any words, recommendations maybe, then let's go with an emoji, the snow emoji and the snowman. Make the comment section very, very Christmassy and festive. Thank you again, and I will see you in the next one.